Hey y'all, Mama Snark here. I'm going to do a little bit of a different kind of Disney World vlog than I normally do. This time, I'm going to show you guys everything that I ate and drank while on a 4-night, 5-day Walt Disney World vacation. I recently went to Disney World with a girlfriend of mine. We were there from May 3rd to May 7th for the Flower and Garden Festival, and we visit all of the other parks as well. One of the most frequently asked questions I see when people are planning a trip to Disney World is how much should I budget for food? So this should give you kind of a general outlook on how much food will run you at Disney World. And I'm here to tell you it ain't cheap, y'all, especially if you're ordering alcoholic beverages. But this is for one person, one adult, everything that I ate and drank on a 4-night, 5-day trip. So hopefully this can help you kind of gauge how much you need to save and just multiply it by however many people you're bringing. Keep in mind that kids' meals will be cheaper than the adult meals. Honestly, not by a whole lot, but they will be cheaper. So this should give you kind of a basic overview. And I will tell you now that we didn't really spare a lot of cost on this trip. This is going to be my last trip for quite some time, so I did splurge a little bit and kind of just ate and drank whatever I wanted. So if that's the kind of trip that you're going for, here you go, let's get to it. Starting the trip out right, we flew out from the New Orleans airport, so I stopped at Cafe Du Monde and got myself a cafe au lait, as well as a bag of classic New Orleans Louisiana beignets, which were delicious. My total cost for this was $7.60, which is so much cheaper than Starbucks. One of my biggest money-saving hacks at Disney is to order a Walmart grocery delivery order. We ordered bottled waters, some sodas, some chips, a little bit of chocolate, so we had snacks in the room. And doing this saves so much money, especially if you're going to buy it in the parks anyway, because one bottle of soda is $5 and one bottle of water is about $4 in the park, and an apple will run you about $2 something. So we ordered some Walmart groceries to be delivered to the resort, so we had snacks. Our first official stop was at the Japan Pavilion at Epcot's Flower and Garden Festival. Had to get my frushi. This is a staple for me anytime I can make it to Flower and Garden. It is so delicious and refreshing, and it's one of my must-have items. And the total cost for the frushi was $7.75. Our next stop was at Magnolia Terrace, which was the American Adventure Pavilion food booth for Flower and Garden. We got the muffaletta panini, the chicken and sausage andouille gumbo, and the bananas Foster bread pudding for dessert. And our total cost was $17.25. Continuing around the World Showcase, we stopped at the China Pavilion and their food booth and picked up these amazing cheesy crab wontons with a sweet chili sauce. These are phenomenal. The total cost was $8.25. Next up, we hopped the Skyliner over to Hollywood Studios and stopped at Woody's Lunchbox to pick up the brisket grilled cheese sandwich with the side of tomato basil soup. The total with tax was $14.15. I also stopped at a popcorn cart on the way to watch Fantasmic and picked up a popcorn refill. I have a popcorn refill bucket that I brought with me from a previous trip. So this popcorn refill was only $2.25, and some carts, if they don't have the fresh popped popcorn machines, if you just show them your refill bucket, they will give you an entire box full of popcorn for the price of a popcorn refill. So since I showed them my bucket, the total cost for that box of popcorn was $2.25. On day 2, we started the morning at Hollywood Studios for May the 4th, and I mobile ordered from Ronto Roasters. I got the fruit cup that has I think it's called Muja sauce, but it's basically just a fruit cup that has like a chamoy tahini sauce with it. Very light and refreshing, and I just needed a little bit of fiber in my life. I also picked up the breakfast Ronto wrap, which is a tried and true of mine anytime I go to Hollywood Studios in the morning. It is a Ronto wrap that has an egg and like cheese and a peppercorn sauce with that sausage. So good. Get it if you're there for breakfast. The total cost with tax for both of these was $21.06. And on our way to Tower of Terror, I stopped at the market right there by the Joffrey's Coffee outside of Toy Story Land and got my famous Jack Jack Num Num cookie. This cookie, when it is fresh and hot and warm, is so incredibly delicious. It has a like thick, crunchy crust, and then the inside of it is so warm and moist and gooey and perfection. The total cost for this was $6.70. We hopped the Skyliner over to Epcot, and I stopped at the Joffrey's Coffee Cart by Mission Space and got the Flower and Garden special there, which was an iced honey jasmine latte. My favorite. It had way too much milk and not enough coffee in my opinion. The total for this was $6.91. On the way back to my room, I hopped off the Skyliner at Riviera Resort and went to their quick service and picked up this hummus vegetable wrap. I needed something a little bit light and refreshing after, eating theme park food. And this did the trick. It had quinoa and hummus and different veggies and peppers and olives in it. It was very light and refreshing. And my total cost for this was $10.11. Day 3, we started out at Magic Kingdom and went to Sleepy Hollow for one of my must-have breakfast items here, which is the Nutella waffle covered with fresh fruit. This thing is huge and easily shareable. It is absolutely delicious. The total was $9.04 for this. Next, we went to Anti-Gravity's and got the Shaken Jamaican Cold Brew Float. So it's Shaken Jamaican Cold Brew Coffee from Joffrey's with vanilla soft serve ice cream on top. This thing was definitely a treat. It was a little bit too sweet for my taste, and the ice cream definitely melted quickly. The total for this one was $7.23. Since this day was Cinco de Mayo, we hopped over to the Polynesian Resort by boat and went to the Barefoot Pool Bar. This is where I got the Dole Whip Margarita Float for $17.12 before tip. After that, we headed inside to Captain Cook's, where I had mobile ordered these Thai coconut meatballs that I had heard a lot about. And y'all, I am here to tell you, they lived up to the hype. This was such a delicious and filling meal. I can't rave about it enough. If I ever end up back at Polynesian, I will absolutely be ordering these for myself. The total for this was $11.17. Our next stop for Cinco de Mayo was Pangu Pangu Refreshments over at Animal Kingdom for the margarita there. This one, it's a novelty item, if I'm being honest with you. It just tasted like a fruit slushie with some boba balls in it. I swear there was no liquor in it, even though they claim there was. It melted very, very quickly. I will say the taste was fine. It just didn't taste like it had tequila in it. My friend wasn't a fan of the boba pearls in it. It was fine with me, but the total cost for this was $15.98. And what is a trip to Animal Kingdom without a pit stop at the Nomad Lounge? So I got the Boto Rita. Since it was Cinco de Mayo, we were going for margaritas, of course. This one didn't quite do it for me. I love ginger and I love weird flavors and trying new and interesting drinks. But for me, this one, it was hard to sip on. It wasn't, I don't know, the flavors just didn't quite do it for me. So that was a little bit disappointing. But for bonus for you, my friend ordered the Hightower Rocks margarita and hers was absolutely delicious and refreshing. So I recommend that one over mine. And the total cost for my margarita was $7.04 before tip. After the Nomad Lounge, we went over to Hollywood Studios to one of my favorite places, the Hollywood Brown Derby Lounge. So I got the margarita flight. Since it was Cinco de Mayo, of course, I had to. It's also one of my go-tos. The blood orange is definitely my favorite of the trio, and my least favorite is the pomegranate. Like I said, this is just one of my must-dos every time I come to Hollywood Studios if I can manage it. And the total for my margarita flight was $19.70 before tip. At the end of the night, we found ourselves at Disney Springs, so we made a stop at Earl of Sandwich, and we both picked up the macaroni and cheese, which we probably could have shared one because this was a very large and hearty portion of mac and cheese. It was good. It just needed like some pepper or something on it. It was a little bit bland. We also both picked up the infamous holiday sandwich from there. I almost want to go back to Disney World just to go to Earl of Sandwich and get this sandwich again, y'all. It was basically a Thanksgiving dinner inside of a sub. So it was delicious toasted bread with warm turkey and cranberry sauce and stuffing. And y'all, I'm a sucker for stuffing. This sandwich was so good and so filling. I probably could have shared one, but I'm glad I didn't. Our total cost for this meal was $15.79. Day 4, we found ourselves at Hollywood Studios again, and mobile ordered again from Ronto Roasters a little bit later this time, and I got the Zuki wrap, which is a zucchini Ronto wrap, instead of having the sausage in it, it has a zucchini. It also has a chickpea filling and some kind of like marsala sauce to it. It was very tasty, but not as good as the original. I also grabbed an ice water to go with my Gatorade Twitch because I needed a little bit of caffeine and hydration to go with the day. The total for the Ronto wrap was $13.09. Our last night, we had dinner at Ohana at the Polynesian Resort. This was our biggest dinner expense for the trip. It's a one set price meal. You get an appetizer and kind of like a mid entree, and then an entree as well as a dessert. And you can also get a non-alcoholic beverage included in this. I'll have a full review of this dinner coming for you soon. Make sure you're subscribed and follow along for that review. But I also got myself the pineapple alcoholic beverage. It was $20, came in a pineapple, had some rum in it. So I got an alcoholic beverage on top of the set dinner price. And our full total for this meal was $80.73, and that was before the tip. And it includes my annual pass discount. Our very last day, we started out the day with breakfast at Leal Bakery in Epcot. We got the quiche Florentine, which was absolutely phenomenal, as well as a bacon, cheese, and egg croissant. This quiche had goat cheese and spinach in it, and that crust was so flaky and buttery, and I cannot sing enough praises for that one. The croissant was also flaky and delicious and perfectly cooked. I have zero complaints about this breakfast at all. It was phenomenal. My friend and I ended up splitting it so that we didn't get too full, but the total for this was $20.72. Our last meal in the Disney parks, we went to my favorite little quick service place in Epcot and got the adult portion of the cheese empanadas. This is served with rice and beans, and the total was $14.91. Very last meal of the trip, I stopped at Jersey Mike's at the MCO airport before we boarded our flight, and this was $13.82 for a tuna sub. So that was it for everything that we ate on our trip and drank. For myself as a single adult, I say we because my friend also got some things, but she paid for her own food. I'm going to tell you right now, Disney food is not cheap, especially alcoholic beverages, and it adds up so quickly. Like in the blink of an eye, you've spent an absurd amount of money. So definitely order some groceries to your room. We probably should have ordered a few more snacks. But like I said, this was my last trip for a while, so I kind of want it to go all out. And then also keep in mind that if you're doing any sit-down restaurants, that is going to take up a very large chunk of your food budget. Sit-down restaurants are quite expensive at Disney. And my total for everything that I ate and drank was $422.97. And this was before tips. So keep in mind that I did add a tip on to any kind of like alcoholic beverage or the sit-down meal or anything like that. And I tend to tip 20% or above at Disney. So hopefully this was helpful and informative in you planning your trip and trying to figure out what to budget for food. Make sure you give this video a like and a thumbs up, hit that notification bell, subscribe, and follow along for more content. Bye guys.